Iron Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons!
West Ham are massive, everywhere we go! West Ham are massive, everywhere we go! Everywhere we go! West Ham are massive, everywhere we go! West Ham are massive, everywhere we go! Everywhere we go!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the West Ham Massive. Thank you for joining me. And please don't forget to like, comment on and share this stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you hit the bell icon for alerts and new content. All these things are free for you to do, ladies and gentlemen. Take a couple of seconds of your time and help to grow the channel from its current position. And we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. So we are here to discuss the match that takes place tomorrow evening. I hope to be there myself. That remains to be seen. The Carabao Cup, the League Cup. Back in the day, it was called the Milk Cup, the Rumbelows Cup, the Coca-Cola Cup, the Worthingtons Cup. It had many different names. The League Cup, if you're an old git like me. Round 2, which is the round in which the Premier League teams come in. And wouldn't you know it, we've been drawn against another Premier League team in Bournemouth at the London Stadium tomorrow. This could be something of a banana skin potentially, but I've got faith that Julien Lopetegui can get a tune out of his players and get us through into the next round safe and sound. Get involved with the conversation as we go along, guys. Please do. It would help me tremendously. As you can see, I'm on my own at the moment. Ben might turn up. He might not. We'll wait and see. Absolutely, Paul. Everywhere we go, we are massive, massive, massive. Thanks for joining us. Right, so I've got a little thing I'm gonna add to proceedings. There you go. I do a few little things in the background just to make this look a little bit more sort of professional than would otherwise be the case. But our opponents tomorrow, Bournemouth. Now, it's going to be a bit of a weird one tomorrow, I think, because it's a little bit difficult to guess which way the two teams, the two managers are going to play it. You know, are they going to have their full strength team out? Are they going to have maybe a 3/4 strength team out? Is it going to be a completely rotated team and you're going to see a load of reserves and youth players? This is a really difficult one to try and gauge. 2 games into the season, and obviously we've had a win and a defeat in the Premier League. They've had 2 draws. So we've not started poorly, either of us. I mean, Bournemouth could Brentford. Bournemouth could point to the game against Newcastle and feel very hard done by. They might have been on 4 points instead of the 2 that they've got. If we'd have got the equaliser for Thomas Souček in the game against Aston Villa, we might have been sitting on 4 points instead of 3. So it's difficult to see how they're the 2 managers and they're both Spaniards, Lopetegui and Iraola, are going to sort of like play it. It could go either way, but we'll get into that. So the first question I would normally ask, and you guys can get involved, you get your answers in. First of all, the question is your thoughts, dear viewer, on the opposition Bournemouth. Now, I'll give you my opinion. I think under Iraola, I think that they're a very well-equipped team in terms of trying to play football in the correct way. And as you can see there, I've got a little thing there, guys. It's got a few little nuggets of information because I appreciate that there might be people watching that might not know all the ins and outs of Bournemouth and maybe some of the things around them. So I've put that there. If you want to read it, it's there. If you choose not to, it's absolutely fine, not a problem. But either way, you can have a little look and see if you can pick up little nuggets of information. They're a fantastically well-equipped team for playing football. I think that Bournemouth have always tried to be a team that have played football the correct way from when I've watched them. Obviously, going back, Eddie Howe was the manager that got them in the Premier League back in the day. They've had other managers that have come in and they've all tried to play football in a similar fashion. They're punching well above their weight. I mean, look at that. Their capacity is just a shade over 11,000. I mean, they really shouldn't be in the Premier League, all things being equal, and yet they are. And they've been there on merit for many seasons. They've obviously had a little drop down a couple of years ago, and then they've obviously come back up. they're a fantastically well-run team. Like I say, punching well above their weight. We're going to have to be careful, guys. I mean, they've got some dead handy players. You know, they've obviously got rid. I say got rid. I mean, that's probably a little bit too harsh of me, to be honest with you, how I say that. But they sold Dominic Solanke. I mean, look, they got a fair amount of money for him. It has to be said. 65 million quid, I think it was it? I'm pretty sure it was 65 million quid. And yet they've replaced him with a player, and he will be on the next slide that I sort of pop up when I get round to it. But a player by the name of Evan Nielsen. And they brought him in. I think they've shelled out 40 million quid on him from memory. You know, they've done some fantastic business, it has to be said. Like I say, punching well above their weight. They're going to be a tough nut to crack. Make no mistake about it. They're going to be really they're going to come and they're going to try and upset the apple cart. We need to make sure that we're at our best. I don't know. Again, it's difficult to say what team we're going to put out, what team they're going to put out. I think we're both going to put out strong teams. I don't think that either of us are going to put out our full strength 11. I don't think you're going to see too much. I think you're going to see a bit of rotation where possible. We'll obviously have a chat about that, but make no mistake about it, Bournemouth are a club that are in the Premier League on merit. They're punching above their weight. And we need to be careful. Like I say, we really do need to be careful. Let's have a look at some of your comments. Michael's in there. Hello, Michael. I expect we want a sell players team. We want to sell players team put in the window. Evening Gatesy. I hope you're doing well there, Michael. We'll wait and see. I mean, I think that he's going to put out a strong team. I really do. I think I don't think he's going to be a full strength 11, but I think he's going to respect the competition. I mean, he's on record as well as Jared Bowen as saying that they want to win a trophy this season, and this is the first opportunity. The finals played back end of February, so this is the first opportunity for a bit of silverware. This is the first opportunity to qualify for a European competition. The winners of this tournament, unless I'm very much mistaken, qualify for the Europa Conference League. Now, usually the winners of this tournament are usually in the top 4, which means that they end up going into the Champions League, and then the Conference League place that would have gone to the winners of this tournament reverts down to a league placing. That was why we obviously got it a couple of seasons ago. I think it was Man City that won the League Cup that year, but because they won the Premier League as well, we obviously were the beneficiaries of that place. And obviously we know what happened from that point on the following season. Kent comes in. How you doing, Kent? Hope you're well. Big team, so-called the Poor Relations Cup. I can't predict the teams for tomorrow, Rob. Yeah, it's a real difficult one. It is, and I've agonised, and I'll get into it in due course. It's going to be really, really tricky to try and work out what the two teams are going to be. It's a tough one. If we'd have obviously if this was, say, round 3, round 4, and you'd have previous rounds that you could sort of scrutinize and work out what the priorities of the managers are, then you might be able to sort of make a call on it. But it's a tricky one because this is the first round and this is the first time that we've seen the new manager in a cup competition for this club. Then it becomes very, very tricky to try and work out just which way he's going to go. But in terms of the opposition as well, it becomes even more difficult because they're not a team I watch every week. So I've got to try and make a best guess. I mean, they've got, like I say, they've got some good players. They've got the likes of Evan Nielsen, Semenya, Justin Kluivert, Marcus Tavernier, Lewis Cook. Lewis Cook's a player that I remember years ago. I'm sure he got an England cap, and there was a lot of talk about him back in the day of being a one for the future, and it's never quite happened for him. I think injuries sort of put paid for him. But it's like I say, prediction for teams are going to be a little bit tricky. How you doing, Sharky? Hope you are well. Adrian's in the building. We are being told we now have depth. Would work backwards from the team for next Saturday and make sure none of them play a full game and utilise the wider squad. I think you make some very good points there, Adrian, and I may not be too far away from you in terms of my team selection that we get into, but we'll get into that down the track. Kent says, opposition view is manager is destined for more Milos Kirkesh is class. So is Cook. Just mentioned him. And got 2 fantastic wingers. Yep, exactly. Sold him and now he's injured. Who's that? Who's that you're talking about, Matt? Who's been sold and now injured? Is that Solanke? Are you on about Solanke? Not quite sure. Oh, there you go. Sharky says, is there VAR for the game? I'm not entirely sure, Sharky. I'm not entirely sure. I don't think. Is this the competition where they didn't bring it in until the quarterfinals in previous seasons, or am I getting confused? I mean, obviously, it's at a Premier League game, so I mean, there's no reason why they couldn't. If we was playing it at, I don't know, Doncaster Rovers or something like that, not a Premier League ground, I could understand it. I think that if it's a Premier League ground and you've got the capability to do it, I think you should. But I'm not entirely sure. I mean, Michael says he expects it. Same reason as me. It's a Premier League ground. There's no reason why you couldn't. But I don't actually know what the rules are. I'm sure, isn't there? Am I misremembering that there was a competition, and it may be the League Cup, where they didn't bring it in until the quarters? And it may be that I'm misremembering, or it may be that I'm correct in my recollection, but it may be that that's changed since then. So, Darren, hope you're well. Those that didn't play on Saturday, so for example, Todibo and Somerville, yes, should be selected. He's got tickets, so hoping for a good game. 2-0 with the Hammers. Come on, your wines. As I say, I may well be there, Darren. So if you bump into me, please feel free to come over and say hello. It'd be nice to put a face to the name. Yeah, Solanke. Oh, he's got injured, has he? Oh, I didn't realise. Oh, what a shame. Watford have signed Ogbonna. Good sign for them. Yes, massively good signing. He'll bring experience. Trodge says he loves games with no VAR. Yeah, I mean, they take something away, don't they? You celebrate a goal and you've always got half an eye on, is it going to be chalked off? It does sort of take something away, but it's part of football now, unfortunately, or fortunately, for better or worse. This is a player that I suspect we're going to have to keep our eye on, okay? And I'll sort of get into, you can obviously tell me what you think the key players are, but this is the player that I would keep an eye on. Again, it depends on if he starts. But this is the player that they've brought in as the replacement for Solanke. As you can see there, his name is Evan Nielsen. 24 years of age. He's a striker. He's had a couple of clubs. The club that they got him from, though, was Porto. He's got 2 caps for the Brazilian national team. He's pretty much got a clean sweep with Portuguese honours, as you can see there. His record is pretty impressive. Obviously, it has to be noted that Porto in the Portuguese league are one of the big 3 teams, so they're probably going to be quite dominant. And obviously, Fluminense in Brazil are, again, a dominant team in that division. So his record is going to look good, I would suggest. It should look good if he's a decent level striker in those leagues. Question is, can he transfer it over to the English Premier League? That's sometimes easier said than done. However, what I've observed from the game against Newcastle, I think he looked bright. I think he looked a bit of a problem. So I'm hoping that this guy doesn't actually start. But whoever does start, make no mistake, they will be up for the challenge. I would say that this is a guy that if he takes to the pitch, we're going to have to keep a close eye on if we're going to maximise our chances. But as far as the West Ham player that I think will be key, again, this is such a difficult question to answer because we don't know what team that Lopetegui is going to put out. Is he going to put out a heavily rotated team? I'll tell you what, let's, before I answer that question, let's go with what would be your starting 11. Okay, so I'll give my starting 11. You guys in the live chat, chop yours into the live chat and we'll get them up and we'll have a go. And this is just for fun. This is just what would be my starting 11. I'm not the manager of West Ham and I will have my reasons. I will have my logic. And some of you guys might understand what my thinking is. And some of you might think I'm absolutely barking mad. Absolutely not a problem. But I think I would go with Fabianski. I don't think there's a great deal to choose between the 2 goalkeepers in truth. I think that Areola is marginally the better goalkeeper, but I think that for the strengths that he has, he does have a couple of weaknesses. And I think that some of the weaknesses maybe Fabianski is slightly ahead of. but they're fairly comparable. And I don't think that by putting Fabianski, you would have a massive drop off in terms of quality, in my opinion. So I think I would probably go with Fabianski. In the previous 2 games that we've played, according to what the setup that I've observed anyway, it would seem that we've gone with a formation of 4-1-4-1. I suspect that that will probably be the formation that the manager goes with against Bournemouth. I have a sneaking suspicion, just a little spoiler, I wouldn't be shocked to see him change it for Man City for obvious reasons. I wouldn't be shocked if he went 3 centre-backs, but we'll wait and see. But I think that the shape will be 4-1-4-1. Now, let's go with the back line. So let's start left back. I think, personally, I don't think I'd make a change there. I think I would stick with Emerson. I know you could make a case for Cresswell, and there might be some people that would turn around and say, could Oliver Scholes maybe get a little bit of a run out? Maybe not from the start, maybe as a substitute later in the game. But I think that as a starter, I would definitely go with Emerson myself. As a right-back option, Kufal started the first 2 Premier League games, but obviously Aaron Wan-Bissaka was introduced to good effect against Crystal Palace at the weekend. Personally, I would start him. I would put him in at right-back. So there's your fullbacks dealt with. Now you have a bit of a conundrum. Centre-back. What do we do there? Now, Tillman, absolutely superb performance against Crystal Palace. So on that performance, I wouldn't drop him, but I could rest him. That might be my thinking. Mavropanos, again, had a good game against Palace, I've got to say. Had a couple of shaky moments at the start, but came back into the game, bit like the Villa game, if I'm being honest. I thought he started slow, but gradually got himself into the game. And by the time you looked at him at the end of the game, you thought, wow, what a performance from him. All this talk about him moving on, I think that might be a bit premature. Naya Figueira, I mean, he hasn't featured at all in the first 2 games. Could he possibly make an appearance? I doubt it. Personally, I very much doubt it. Kurt Zouma, I think his race is run. In actual fact, when you look at on the club website, when you look on the Premier League, the photograph that is attached to Kurt Zouma, he's not wearing this season's kit. He's wearing last season's kit. That's a bit of a clue for me that his future doesn't lay here. So he's not going to play, I don't think. I would like to see Todibo, and I would like to see, and I've wrestled with this one. Would I go Kilman? Would I maybe go Mavropanos? Because, of course, if you're going to go Todibo and Mavropanos, they're 2 right-footers. So one of them would slightly have to shuffle over. Would they be comfortable? Do you know what? I think I would probably go Todibo and I would go Kilman, because I do think, although Mavropanos has done well, I do think that long-term, that is going to be the preferred centre-back partnership. And obviously Mavropanos will be the guy that if either of those 2 have an injury, if either of those 2 is suspended, if either of those just drop form, then he'll be the one to replace them. So he will keep these 2 on their toes. But I'd like to see these 2 getting a run out. I'd like to see Kilman and Todibo getting a run out. Now, a couple of days ago, I think I did turn around and say in a conversation I had with a few sort of friends, if you will, that I did say I would go with Mavropanos and Todibo, and obviously one of them would have to shuffle over and play as a left centre-back. But I've kind of come round that actually maybe Todibo and Kilman is the way to go. Now, as far as the defensive midfielder, I'd like to go Alvarez. No slight on Guido Rodriguez. Yes, he had a little bit of a dodgy performance against West Brom. Aston Villa, the other team from the Midlands, had a bit of a dodgy go against Villa, but I think he looked much, much better against Palace. We have to factor in, obviously, Guido Rodriguez is coming from La Liga, where the football isn't played at the same pace. So it could have been a little bit of a shock to the system in that first game. I think he's calibrated himself well in the subsequent 7 days from the Villa game to the Palace game. But I would like to see Alvarez get a run out at the defensive midfield option. So he would be there. So then you're looking at your 4 in midfield from left to right. Left, bang, Somerville. He hasn't started either of the games. He's going to be fresh. He's going to be straining at the leash. We need to see him. We've played a lot of money to see what he can do, what he can offer. So let's see what he can do. Put him on the left. On the right-hand side, now, there's a couple of options here, quite frankly. You could go Jared Bowen. You could go Mohamed Kudus. There's a few different ways you could play it. In theory, you could go Michail Antonio. I'm not going to. On the right, I'd like to see Jared Bowen get a run out. Again, it's one that I've wrestled with. I would keep Jared Bowen in. I think his confidence is going to be sky high after that goal. Okay, he didn't perform that well until the introduction of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but I do think that part of that was to do with, not entirely, but part of it was to do with the fact that I think he had to have half an eye on Kufal, because I think even in the back of his mind, he's probably thinking that Kufal defensively might need a little bit more help than Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And the fact that Wan-Bissaka's behind him might mean that Bowen, his performance from the point that Wan-Bissaka came on, that's what freed him off to an extent. There was a slight change in tactics, I'll agree, but I do think that did help. I'd like to see Bowen playing just ahead of Wan-Bissaka so they can get a good understanding of each other's game in this one ahead of the Man City game. Now we come to central midfield, the two central of the four across midfield. I got to be honest, I wasn't overly impressed, as I said in the match review of the Palace game. I wasn't overly impressed with Paquetá's performance. I wasn't overly impressed with him against Villa, truth be told. So that's two games where he's not looked his best. I think I would probably give him the night off. Might have him on the bench, but I think I would probably start with him away from the starting lineup. Souček, could I play him? Possibly. You know, there's a possibility you could put him in there. And I think I would go with Souček, to be honest with you. And I would have him have a midfield partner for him. I'd actually play Kudus centrally, and I'd probably it probably wouldn't be a traditional conventional 4 across that part of the midfield. It would probably be more a 3 with Kudus as a sort of a roaming role. I'd probably give him a bit of a license to go and do your stuff and really create some menace for the opposition backline. And then my striker, I would say Nicholas Füllkrug. Now's your time to shine. Show us what you can do. Have an audition. This is an audition for you ahead of the City game. Give me a problem. Give me a reason for me to consider dropping Antonio to the bench. Show me what you can do. That's what I would do. It could well be that, but if you ask me tomorrow, I might have a completely different 11 for you to contend with. But that's what I would go with. Just to sort of move that little slide on, if you're interested, that's our head-to-head against Bournemouth in all competitions. We've won 8, we've drawn 7, we've lost 4, and there's our last 5 games looking at you as well. Okay, so that's my lineup, and that's my reasoning behind it. I've been waffling on, so let's have a little look at your comments and see what you've been saying in whilst I've been waffling on. So, Michael says, makes the competition unfair. In a way, some games VAR. It is a bit of a conundrum, but unfortunately, you're never going to have VAR at some of the lower league grounds, so it is what it is. So would you rather have some of the games where you've got the advantage of VAR, as it may well be perceived by some? Everyone's going to look at it differently. Howard, hope you are well. Mama Flossie, hope you are well. Thanks for joining us. Mama Flossie is... I believe I'm right in saying, Mama Flossie, you're a Newcastle United fan, aren't you? But be gentle with her. She's lovely. She's a friend of the channel. So be nice. We're all one happy family here. You know, we're all into football. So Rob says, don't know if I want players to play the game and then gel on or then get on, or will the players get rest? Again, we don't know what the manager's going to sort of think about this, do we? So we're going to have to wait. Was it an hour and a half before kickoff when the teams were announced? And then we'll probably have a better understanding. And that will probably allow us to calibrate things, assuming we get through for the next round that sort of sits beyond. Just so shows standards if Porto are selling one of their attackers. money talks, doesn't it, though, Michael? You know, if they've sort of like, if 40 million quid to them, they can do a lot of business with it. If their financial situation is such that he's the jewel in the crown, then you got to do business, haven't you? It's as simple as that. Darren says his team would be Fabianski, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Kilman, Emerson, Paquetá, Alvarez, Somerville, Kudus, Bowen, Fulkrug. Almost the same as mine, my team, with the exception you've obviously got Paquetá involved instead of Souček. But listen, other than that, mate, it's pretty much exactly identical with my team. So we're on virtually the same page. Thank you very much, Mama Flossie. You are an absolute gem. Sharky's gone with Fab, Andre Wan-Bissaka, Kilman, Todibo, Emerson, Rodriguez, James Ward-Prowse, Paquetá, Somerville, Fulkrug, and Bowen. Okay, so the difference between yours and mine is you've obviously gone with Rodriguez instead of Alvarez. You've gone with James Ward-Prowse and Paquetá instead of Souček and Kudus against my team. Again, not a million miles away from what I've advocated. Matt has gone with Fabianski, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Aguirre. Interesting. Not too sure he's going to be around for much longer. And if he is going to be sold, is it a risk worth taking? And I'm not too sure that the manager fancies him, hence why he's not made even the bench for the first 2 games. But he's still employed by the club, so why not? So Aguirre, Cresswell, okay. Rodriguez, Alvarez, Somerville, Kudus, Guilherme, and Fulkrug. I did consider Guilherme, but I think I'd like to see him from the bench. I'm probably going quite strong because I'm working on the principle that team that I've put out is very close to being a full-strength team, I believe. And some of the players haven't played that much in the way of minutes in terms of Wan-Bissaka, in terms of Somerville, in terms of Todibo, in terms of Fulkrug. And they're players that we've brought in. I think we're going to need to see. We're going to need to test them. And Bournemouth, as I say, will be a test. Colin, hope you're well. Loppy will take competition seriously. I expect a strong team. And Colin's team is Fabianski, Cresswell, Todibo, Mavropanos, Kufal, Somerville, James Ward-Prowse, Rodriguez, Guilherme, Fulkrug, Bowen. Well, that's the team I expect he will pick. Time will tell. It's an awkward one to try and second guess. It really is, Colin. Michael comes in with Fabianski, Kufal, Todibo, Kilman, Cresswell, Alvarez, James Ward-Prowse. A lot of you going for James Ward-Prowse. Orford. I did consider Orford as well. I did actually consider Potts in the team I put out a couple of days ago, but of course he's gone on loan to Portsmouth, so that was out the window. Orford, Somerville, Bowen, and Fulkrug. Kent's come in, and his team is Fabianski, Wan-Bissaka, Todibo, Mavropanos, Cresswell, Big Tom, Rodders, Somerville, Kudus, Pack the Big German. Pack and the Big German. There you go. We've got a big effing German. Orient play Millwall in the cup tonight. They do, Howard. Yeah, I'm going to keep half an eye out for that. It's one of those, isn't it? You know, obviously, once upon a time, Leyton Orient and West Ham were considered something of kindred spirits, allies, because obviously both from East London. Obviously, then what happened with the London Stadium and the fact that they've seemed to have got into bed with Tottenham, not so much now. Millwall, obviously, we know the history between us and them. If we get through the next round, says Sharky, then I'd like to see us play either Orient or Millwall. And he says at Orient's gaff. That'd be an interesting one. I think I'd prefer to see it at home. There'd be more. I mean, let's be honest with you. They probably. I mean, would they sell out even if it was at their gaff? I don't know. There'd probably be more fans, more Orient fans should be able to get in at London Stadium. I would have thought. Not sure playing Millwall would be a good idea. Probably not, Matt. And probably the local constabulary would agree with you. Michael says, big bench, give players rest for the game versus City. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a balancing act. But I mean, I think because this is a Premier League team, Michael, we need if this was, like I say, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to, let's just pluck a team out of the air. Torquay United, okay? Then I think I would probably be more inclined to rotate more heavily. But there you are. I did think you were Mama Flossie. I didn't want to sort of get it wrong because I thought I remembered you saying you was Newcastle, and then I thought, have I just cocked it up there? But appreciate you coming back at me and just making sure that I'm on the right lines there. But yeah, I mean, because it's a Premier League team, they could easily put us out. They could easily give us a bloody nose. Forgot Irving, he could replace Orford. Yes, do you know what? He seems to have become the forgotten man again, bless him. He had a really good pre-season, and we seem to have all sort of forgotten who he is. Troj comes in, says, Marshall playing tonight in the Cup. Oh, for Huddersfield. Brilliant. I'll keep an eye out for that. Walsall, Huddersfield. Matt says, I don't think we'll see Irving. I think he'll be gone by the end of the window. There is a possibility, Matt. There is a possibility. But we'll wait and see. Marshall's on fire. Man of the match last game. I think, hasn't he got 2 man of the matches, Trodger? Or am I getting confused? I know he's at least got 1. Michael says, we'll never draw Millwall unless it's a final. The ball's forward and Millwall have raised numbers. Okay. That's the old conspiracy theory. Right. So let's have a little look. So we've done thoughts on the opposition. We've done key players. We've done the starting 11. Now we get score prediction. What is your score prediction? Now, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. And if Kent is still there, I know he will readily correct me as he does. He is an encyclopedia of football. I'm pretty sure that if this is locked level at 0-0, 1-1 at 90 minutes conclusion, I'm right in saying that this goes straight to penalties, doesn't it? I'm pretty sure it does. I'm sure someone will correct me in the live chat. I don't think it's going to need to go beyond 90 minutes, though. I think, oh, Paul, that's interesting. Okay, if he has, good luck to him. Good luck to him. I mean, it's a move that we've obviously got our service out of him. He was part of that team in Prague. He was our captain last season, so it's not like he's been a complete dud. It's just he's not fit for Premier League football anymore. Matt's coming to say, yes, it does, Rob, straight to penalties if a draw at 90 minutes. I thought that was the case, Matt. Appreciate you letting me know. I've seen, like I say, I've only seen him in the Dagenham and the pre-season friendlies in the States when he came on. Other than that, yeah, I've not really seen too much of him with Sharky. I don't think many West Ham fans have. But my final score, I think it will be done in 90 minutes. I don't think we're going to penalties. I think we're going to do it. I think it's going to be 3-1. Exactly what Matt has said there. I think it's going to be 3-1 to West Ham, 3-1 to the Cockney boys. And I think we're going to go into the next round. But I don't think it's going to be easy. Let me say that. If there's any Bournemouth fans that are watching that think that I'm being very patronising, I don't think for one moment that it's going to be a walkover. I don't think that we're going to see Bournemouth rolling over to have their tummies tickled. I think they're going to be a tough nut to crack, but I do think we're going to crack it. I can see the game being, there'll be a point where I envisage a game where we're 2-1 up. It's getting towards the dying embers of the game. Bournemouth are pushing, but we just do them on the break and we get the third goal just to see it home. That's what I've got. I've just got this dream that's what's going to happen. So 3-1, I'm going with Matt's prediction. I concur with that. 3-1. I don't think it will be a straightforward 3-1. I don't think it will be got 1 goal, 2 goal, 3 goals, and then they get a consolation goal at the end. As I say, I think it will be a game where it's in the balance for a while, but I think that we'll see it right. Darren says it will be 2-0, so that's good. Michael goes 3-0, and he's even given his scorers as Fuckrug. We got to call him Fulkrug now. I could call him that when he wasn't a West Ham player for a little bit of fun. I don't think I'm allowed to do it now. He is a claret and blue player, so we're going to go with Fulkrug or Fuller, if that's what you want to go with. But Michael's gone 3-0, Fulkrug, Somerville, and Bowen. I wondered why you were saying how. You were saying how to Kurt Zuma's passed his medical. I think what it is, they just kicked the tyres and went, yeah, that'll do. It's past its MOT. He probably isn't even fit for shuffling football, to be honest with you, Troj. Let's be completely truthful about it. He might get a couple more seasons playing Premier League football, Saudi Pro League football, and then probably he'll have to have a knee replacement or two, won't he? Colin comes in, says he believes it will be a 3-1 win tomorrow. So you agree with me and Matt. It will be 3-1. And so does Sharky. 3-1 victory. Michael says Bournemouth draw. Specialists at the moment. They are, but a draw is not going to happen tomorrow. It might happen after 90 minutes, but then there will be the penalty shootout if there is a separator that is needed. Hopefully it won't be. Hopefully it will, we'll get it seen in the 90 minutes. I don't really want it to go to penalties. I believe in Colin's beliefs. So you're saying it will be 3-1 as well then, Troj, are you? Okay, fine, no problem. But guys, if you're watching this afterwards, if you've pressed play and we're no longer live, which will be within about the next couple of minutes, you've got a comment section below. So on any of the questions that we've asked in terms of, what do you think of the opposition? Who's their star man? Who's our star man? What's the 11? Blah, 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 blah. Get them in the comment section below. And don't forget to drop a like on the stream. What you probably don't appreciate is that if you drop a like on the stream, it sets the old algorithms at YouTube headquarters running in a certain direction of travel. And the more likes that we get, it will push this content out to places that if you didn't like it, it wouldn't get to and the channel wouldn't grow like it does. It doesn't cost you anything. And at least you click, thumbs up, click, and you're done. And then obviously it helps grow the channel in terms of its subscriber base. And again, to subscribe is completely free of charge. Doesn't cost you a copper coin. So why not? If you're watching this, if you haven't liked it, please drop a like on the stream. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do subscribing to the channel. As I say, doesn't cost you an absolute copper coin. And we'll have a little bit of fun. Sounds right, says Trod. Sharky says, will you still call Wan-Bissaka Andre or perhaps even Spider? I do have to stop myself, Sharky, because those of you that are watching that are wondering what Sharky's referring to, I had this habit of, for whatever reason, I had this little thing in my brain that whenever Wan-Bissaka's name was mentioned, I always would call him Andre for some strange reason. I couldn't work it out. Darren, you're an absolute gent. Appreciate it. Obi-Wan, if he keeps playing that well, the force is strong with him. I got to say that. And for those of people that turned around and said he couldn't go forwards, I turned around and said a little while back, some people might remember, I said, well, don't forget, he did actually start as a right winger. So he has got an attacking side to his game, surely. It's just that obviously he's now been transitioned into a fullback for some time. So maybe he just takes his defensive responsibilities very seriously. But there's nothing to say that a good coach like the coach we've got in Julien Lopetegui can't get that out of him and make him a more offensive fullback. And hopefully we don't lose the defensive qualities that he's clearly got in abundance. But anyway, I've been waffling for long enough. I am going to hit the end button. But as I say, guys, please do, if you can, not forget to drop a like on the stream. Comment on it. If you're watching this after the event, you got the comment section below because you won't be able to comment on the live chat, obviously, because it will no longer be live by the time you're watching this. Share this stream to your social media platforms. If you could, that would be a great help. And also subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for alerts of new content. Remember, all these things take a couple of seconds. They're free of charge to you. We don't get your bank details. We won't come around and do anything nasty sort of to your animals, your pets, whatever. We'll leave you alone and we'll occasionally give you some entertainment that you can sort of watch on the wonder of YouTube. I am going to disappear. Thanks for joining me though, guys. And please don't forget to give your support to the Iron Supporting Food Banks charity. You know it makes sense. Come on, you Irons. 3-1 win to the Cockney boys tomorrow. And we'll be off to round 3 of the League Cup and on to Wembley in February. Believe it, you know it makes sense.
Iron Supporting Food Banks collects food and cash donations for needy families in Newham Borough and beyond. Please consider making a donation via their Just Giving page, the link for which you will find in the description section of this stream. Come on, you Irons.
West Ham are massive.